Welcome back, everyone, to another episode of Health Made Simple Show. I'm your host, Dr. Bart. In tonight's episode, we're going to talk about eye twitches, muscle spasms, muscle cramps, restless leg syndrome, and a whole bunch of other symptoms that are all caused by one primary deficiency. And we'll talk about that in just a moment. First, let me just thank you once again for being here and continuously doing your thing to continue to spread the love, keep sharing things out. We appreciate it. We're getting more and more feedback. The momentum is definitely rolling. So I appreciate you all. Keep doing your thing. And again, the simple message is this: the whole goal of the Health Made Simple show is to recognize that health is simple. We are designed to be healthy. We're designed to be strong, mentally fit. We're designed to have copious amounts of energy and have, unbelievable amounts of capabilities as human beings. The challenge is sometimes we get in the way. So it is simple, but it's not always easy. So my goal here is always to help you recognize that health is simple, get back on track, get the foundations down, and make sure that we kind of support each other in the ride getting there. All right, with that being said, let's dive into this. Eye twitches, muscle spasm, muscle cramps, restless leg syndrome. And let me go farther here. Here's a bunch of other symptoms: high blood pressure, muscle cramps, eye twitches, vertigo, chronic pain, tinnitus, heart palpitations, constipation, headaches, sensitivity to loud noises. All of these symptoms can all boil down to one thing, and that is magnesium deficiencies. So let's talk about this. This should be old news to you, but I do recognize that for a lot of people, until you have the symptom, a lot of the health news we just don't pay attention to, and that's okay because it doesn't have any relevance to us. But in the event that any of those symptoms, and probably many more, how about just general fatigue, or if you have things like chronic fatigue, all of those things can be related back to magnesium deficiency. So let's do a little deep dive here so we understand what are some of the causes of it and some of the foods that we might want to be eating, and if we're going to use a supplement, what type and how much. All right, so I would say 80% of the population right now is probably deficient in magnesium. And a couple of things about magnesium right away. So this is how simple it is. Magnesium is a mineral for the human body, and it plays a couple different roles. Its primary role that it kind of plays or does for the body, it works for relaxation. So it helps us promote the kind of the concept and the idea for our central nervous system to move into something we call parasympathetic activity. It helps the muscles relax, which would be nice for all of us. It helps our cardiovascular system to vasodilate, so it's very good for things like high blood pressure. So anything that helps the body, or where the body needs to unwind and relax, magnesium is a front runner and one of the first players. So if you're always tight, or you're tender, you go to get a massage and all your muscles are achy sore, a lot of that is because we have magnesium deficiencies. So there's over 300 different enzymatic reactions that require magnesium. So, and this is important. We don't need to know all 300, but just know this, that if you're deficient and all of a sudden you can't perform a lot of those enzymatic reactions. So a lot of those are taking place in the livers, which means that for the most part, one of the simplest ones, if you don't have proper magnesium levels in your body, you're going to have a hard time with what we call phase 3 of liver detoxification. That's getting things out of your body. So in the event that you are holding on extra weight, you're feeling toxic, you're a little bit bloated, sometimes the simplicity of it is that you don't have the proper minerals, the proper nutrients in your body to be able to get things out of your body, let them go. Challenge here, sometimes when we're trying to measure it, and we run a lot of labs in my clinic. So in the event that we run a blood test, often when it comes back, the CBC comes back, there'll be a magnesium marker there. But I'll tell you folks, it's not an accurate marker. That lets us know that the magnesium level in the blood, which is less than 1% overall, most of the magnesium we need in the tissue, or in the tissue, in the organs, in the glands, where it's actually doing more of its work. So there really isn't a super good or very efficient test for us to run a magnesium. So we really want to run on the symptoms and also recognizing, well, how much can I possibly be getting in? And do I have habits in my lifestyle that might be depleting it? And I think that's a big part of it for a lot of people here. All right. So a couple other things, only 1% in blood. I think I already mentioned that. Your magnesium helps make this critical element, this critical compound in the body called ATP. And this is huge, folks. So ATP is what we have for energy. And that is why if we don't have magnesium, which is one of our electrolytes, if we don't have them, we can't turn on this power making machine called the Krebs cycle, which is inside your mitochondria. So if we are depleted in magnesium, that's where a lot of the chronic fatigue comes from, simply because we need magnesium to make ATP. Absolutely critical for things like heart health, anything related to your heart, high blood pressure, low blood pressure, arrhythmias, you name it, anything to do with your health, almost always is going to be a requirement to have proper levels of magnesium. And the challenge is as we get older, and that's where we see a lot of people with more heart challenges or heart symptoms, I should say, what happens is it's harder and harder for our bodies to absorb nutrients. So we have to usually take more as we get older instead of less. So if you're 50, 60, 70 years old and you have some heart issues, and that's the leading cause of death in our country is heart disease. And I will tell you, a big part of that is if there's a magnesium deficiency and your heart can't function the way it's supposed to do. And eventually we see abnormalities, we see symptoms, dis-ease, disharmony, and breakdown. So let's make sure fundamentally, this is one of the real simple things, make sure that we're getting plenty of magnesium. I'll talk about it in just a moment. So it's critical for heart health, a 50% decline over the years in the actual plants and veggies that we're eating. So that's another big problem here, that it's not as available as it once was. And like I mentioned earlier, we absorb it less. So I'm kind of building up the case here that for most people, I'm going to recommend to do some type of supplementation, even if you're eating good foods. And no doubt, the foods that we want, green leafy veggies, those absolutely are good sources of magnesium. Mackerel, salmon, nuts, dark chocolate, all of those. I'm not encouraging you to try to get all your magnesium resources from things like dark chocolate and whatnot, but we can get some from food. Yet as we go, most likely we're going to need to supplement in order to stay on top of this one. So here's why. So here's some of the causes of deficiencies, and then we'll talk about what to take, how much, and we'll wrap this up. So here's some of the causes. Coffee depletes your magnesium significantly. Alcohol twice a rate, sugar twice a rate, carbohydrates, we're talking bread, pasta, muffins, crackers, cookies. All of those are going to deplete your magnesium significantly. Chronic stress, and we can even know as a chiropractor, and the chiropractors listen to this, we can feel that in your body because your fascia, the outer layer of the tissue, is always going to be tight. You might be super sensitive to palpation and whatnot. Irritable bowel syndrome, diarrhea, sweating, exercise, sauna sessions, soda, especially this for kids. Absolutely, kids are deficient in magnesium, especially when we're drinking soda. You have something called phosphorus, and that blocks out the ability to absorb magnesium. Diuretics, antacid, all of these things are inhibitors of us either taking it in or it's using it up too quickly. So in that list right there, if I just took to the top two and said everyone out there that is drinking coffee and drinking alcohol, you're going to be depleted in magnesium, that would be a reason or a case for it. And again, this is one of the low-hanging fruits, but significant when it comes to how well it can help us function day to day. So again, I mentioned the things you can eat. Green leafy vegetables, absolutely fantastic. Mackerel, not too many people eat that, but if you haven't, it's actually fantastic. Salmon, absolutely fantastic for us. Nuts, good. Make sure you're getting organic ones. Always dark chocolate. And again, even that, we're going to make sure that it's organic, and we're going to make sure it's at least 70% or more in a pure, kind of the dark chocolate. De-stressing yourself, significant. Things like yoga and meditation. All right, so let's talk about how much and what types. All different types out there. So the one we use the most, probably most common in clinics, something called Magnesium Lactate. The reason we use that is because it's the most gentle, probably the most bioavailable for the body, meaning that gentleness. There are different types you might use, like a citrate, and these are all decent sources. They're all true magnesium, but they're going to have different impact in different parts of the body. Sometimes we want the tissue to feel good. Sometimes we want it to be a little bit better to help us sleep. Sometimes to help us poop. Magnesium lactate is probably the most broad that does a little bit of everything. And one of the simple ways you know is if you're taking too much of a particular type of magnesium, you take it until it makes you have significant loose stool in the morning, and then you back up like one dose, or say if you're taking it by capsule. Typically for us, I start people on 3 capsules of magnesium lactate. And typically the 2 first things that people are going to notice helps you sleep better, and that staying asleep is not necessarily going to make you fall asleep, but it'd be very supportive in you staying asleep. And then it's also going to help you poop better. Those two things right there, for most of us, are going to improve the quality of our life. Go back to the sleep part. One of the reasons it's going to help you stay asleep. In the event that you wake up in the night, most people wake up between 1 and 3 a.m. and 1 and 4 a.m. And the primary reason for this certainly can be blood sugar levels and cortisol impact. Most of the time, this is your liver waking you up because your liver does not have the tools that it needs to be in balance and get its job done, especially helping things going from phase 1 to phase 2 of liver detox. So in that phase, what does it run out of? The most predominant thing that it runs out of is magnesium. So often we say that magnesium can help you stay asleep, and the impact is really happening because of the way that it's interacting with your liver. So if you wake up at night, a little magnesium, if you're not doing it already, typically I have people take it at night. You certainly can take it during the day. A little bit more effective at night because it is a yin mineral. All right, a little quick recap here. Eye twitches, muscle spasms, cramps. These are all a deficiency. Yin makes things relax. Calcium contracts. So when we have eye twitches, it's not relaxed. When we have muscle cramps, it's not relaxed. When we have spasms, even restless leg syndrome, more often than not, these are all a combination of a magnesium deficiency. And if you start taking magnesium and it kind of works or maybe doesn't work completely, I typically will add an additional supplement. Very specifically, it's something called called Cataplex B2. It used to be known as Cataplex G, and it's part of the B family that helps vasodilate. Very similar in the way that it reacts with the body, in the sense that it helps vasodilation, helps your arteries and vessels open up to relax the body. So those two right there typically are an absolute home run. Little side note for those of you who are paying attention to your deep sleep, you're measuring with Aura or your Apple, and you're looking for longevity cues and ways to continue to, thrive for a longer period of time. Obviously, that is something that I look for every single day. One of the needle movers that I've seen in my deep sleep is by adding that Cataplex B2. I had about 5 before I go to bed. It allows my body to become more rested and better circulation. Remember, the name of the game is really oxygen. How do we get more oxygen to more cells and to more organs, more glands on a regular basis? All right, so with that being said, I appreciate y'all being here. Hopefully we'll see you again in our next episode. Keep doing the thing, keep sharing the love, keep spreading it out. Of course, we're going to take deliberate action for the mind, the body, over wellness, and y'all be awesome.